Rebecca Coleman stared at the empty space where the stagecoach had been, dust still hovering in the air, the reality of her husband's betrayal sinking in like a stone in water. Pendleton, Oregon was nothing but a speck on the map to her, a strange frontier town where she now stood alone with nothing but a single trunk of possessions and the clothes on her back. The year was 1878, and the harsh afternoon sun beat down on her pale skin. She had journeyed west from Philadelphia with Thomas, her husband of 3 years, who had promised her a new life in Portland, where he claimed to have business connections. Instead, he had stolen her money and jewelry during their overnight stay in Pendleton, leaving before dawn with a note saying only that she was too much trouble and that he had found better opportunities elsewhere. Rebecca wiped a tear from her cheek, straightening her back. She would not break down in the middle of the street, 24 years old and abandoned but not defeated. The town around her bustled with activity, cowboys, merchants, and locals going about their business, barely giving her a second glance. The Wild West had little patience for personal tragedies. "Madam, you've been standing there nearly an hour." A deep voice broke through her thoughts. "You waiting for someone?" Rebecca turned to face a tall man with sun-weathered skin and kind eyes. His dusty hat was pushed back on his head, revealing sandy blonde hair. "No," she replied, her voice steadier than she expected. "It appears I've been left behind." The man frowned, studying her face. "Name's Samuel Covington. I run the Broken Spur Ranch outside town." "Rebecca Coleman," she said, extending her gloved hand. Formerly of Philadelphia and apparently now of nowhere, Samuel's handshake was firm but gentle. "Husband?" Rebecca nodded, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. "Thomas, he decided Pendleton wasn't to his liking, nor was I, evidently." Samuel's jaw tightened. "Some men don't deserve to call themselves such." He glanced at her trunk. "You got someplace to stay. I had a room at the hotel, but—" She gestured to her empty purse. Samuel removed his hat, running fingers through his hair in thought. "Miss Rebecca, I don't mean to be forward, but my sister Evelyn passed last winter. She kept house for me and my ranch hands, been looking for someone to take over cooking and keeping things in order." He paused, seeming to consider his words carefully. "It's honest work with honest pay. You'd have your own room in the main house." Rebecca stared at him, weighing her limited options. She had no money for a ticket home, no family out west, and no prospects in a town where she knew no one. "I don't know the first thing about cooking for ranch hands, Mr. Covington," she admitted. Samuel smiled, revealing a dimple in his right cheek. "Evelyn didn't either when she started. You seem like a capable woman. Sometimes life forces new paths on us." "Indeed it does," Rebecca whispered, thinking of Thomas and his promises. "I accept your offer, Mr. Covington." "I'm afraid I have little choice. Call me Sam. And there's always a choice, Miss Rebecca. I just hope you won't regret this one." As they loaded her trunk onto his wagon, Rebecca cast one last look at Pendleton's Main Street. She had arrived a married woman with dreams of Portland's society. She was leaving as a soon-to-be ranch cook, heading into the unknown with a stranger whose eyes held more kindness than her husband's ever had. The journey to Broken Spur Ranch took nearly 2 hours. As they traveled, the landscape opened up before Rebecca, rolling hills dotted with sagebrush, distant mountains capped with snow even in summer, and skies so vast they made her feel impossibly small. "It's beautiful," she murmured, breaking the comfortable silence that had fallen between them. "Different from Philadelphia, I reckon," Sam replied, a smile in his voice. "Completely. I've never seen so much space." Rebecca breathed deeply. "The air even tastes different." "It's freedom you're tasting, Miss Rebecca. Out here a person can reinvent themselves, start fresh." The wagon crested a hill, and the ranch came into view, a sprawling main house built of timber and stone, several outbuildings, a large barn, and corrals filled with horses. In the distance, cattle grazed on green pastures. "This is yours?" Rebecca asked, surprised by the size of the operation. "Started with 10 acres and 3 cows 12 years ago," Sam said with pride. "Now it's 2,000 acres and 400 head of cattle, plus 30 horses, most of them bred right here." As they approached, several men emerged from the barn, eyeing the wagon with curiosity. Rebecca felt sudden panic. What had she agreed to? She knew nothing about these men or this place. "Those are my ranch hands," Sam explained, noticing her tension. "Good men, all of them. They'll treat you with respect or answer to me." The wagon pulled up to the house and Sam jumped down, extending a hand to help Rebecca. She hesitated only a moment before taking it, her gloved fingers disappearing into his calloused palm. "Boys," Sam called to the approaching men, "this here is Miss Rebecca Coleman. She'll be taking over Evelyn's duties at the house. I expect you to show her the same respect you showed my sister." The men removed their hats, nodding in greeting. They introduced themselves one by one. Daniel, the foreman with a gray streaked beard; young Peter, barely 20 with freckles across his nose; Miguel, whose dark eyes assessed her quietly; and 3 others whose names blurred together in Rebecca's anxiety. "Miss Coleman will need time to settle in," Sam continued. "Daniel, have the boys bring in her trunk. Peter, make sure her room is prepared." The men moved with surprising efficiency, and within minutes, Rebecca found herself standing in a simple but clean bedroom. A wooden bed with a patchwork quilt stood against one wall, a small dresser and washstand against another. The window overlooked a garden that had seen better days. "It's not fancy," Sam said from the doorway, "but it's yours for as long as you want it." Rebecca swallowed the lump in her throat. "Thank you, it's more than I expected. Dinner's at 6. Kitchen's fully stocked, but don't worry about cooking tonight. Miguel's wife Rosa is bringing something over. Tomorrow I'll show you around properly." He hesitated. "Will you be all right?" Rebecca nodded, not trusting her voice. After Sam left, she sank onto the bed and finally allowed herself to cry for her lost dreams, for Thomas's betrayal, for the uncertainty of her future. When the tears subsided, she washed her face in the basin and changed into a simpler dress. Whatever happened next, she would face it with dignity. Dinner that night was a surprisingly pleasant affair. Rosa, Miguel's wife, had prepared a hearty stew and cornbread. The ranch hands ate in their bunkhouse, leaving Rebecca to dine with Sam in the main house's dining room. "Your men seem very loyal," Rebecca observed as she carefully ate her stew. "They're good men who work hard," Sam replied. "I pay fair wages and treat them right. That goes a long way out here." "And what will my wages be?" Rebecca asked directly, surprising herself with her boldness. Sam's eyebrows rose, but he nodded approvingly. $20 a month plus room and board, 1 day off a week, your choice which. If that seems fair." It was less than she might earn in a city, but with no expenses for lodging or food, it was generous. "That's acceptable, thank you." "Now," Sam said, leaning forward, "tell me what you know about cooking and keeping house." Rebecca laughed nervously. "I fear you'll regret hiring me. In Philadelphia, we had servants. I can manage basic tasks, but cooking for a group of hungry men." Sam smiled. "Rosa will help you get started. And there's a cookbook of Evelyn's recipes in the kitchen. The men aren't expecting fancy food, just plenty of it." "I'll do my best," Rebecca promised. "And I learn quickly." "I believe you will." Sam studied her face. "If you don't mind me asking, how did you end up with a husband who'd abandon you?" Rebecca stiffened, then sighed. "Thomas was charming and handsome. My parents approved because his family had connections, though little money as it turned out. He promised me adventure." She shook her head. "I was naive." "You're young yet," Sam said kindly. "Plenty of time to find real adventure." "Perhaps," Rebecca replied, "but I think I've had quite enough adventure for now." Next morning arrived too early, with roosters crowing and the sounds of men beginning their day. Rebecca dressed quickly in her plainest dress and made her way to the kitchen. To her surprise, Sam was already there stoking the stove. "Good morning," he greeted her. "Thought you might need help getting started." "Thank you," Rebecca said, embarrassed that he'd anticipated her uncertainty. "I confess I'm a bit overwhelmed." "Ranch mornings wait for no one," Sam replied with a smile. "Men need coffee and breakfast before they ride out, usually biscuits, eggs if we have them, sometimes flapjacks." Rebecca took a deep breath and tied on an apron she found hanging by the stove. "Then let's begin." That first breakfast was nearly a disaster. The biscuits were slightly burned, the coffee too strong, and Rebecca found herself flustered by the 6 hungry men crowding the kitchen. but not one complained, each thanking her politely before heading out for the day's work. "They're being kind because it's your first day," Sam said after they'd gone, "but they'll eat anything that's not moving, so don't worry too much." "I'll improve," Rebecca said firmly. "I know you will." Sam grabbed his hat. "I need to ride out with the men, but I'll be back for the noon meal. There's a list of supplies we need from town. I'll take you in tomorrow if you'd like to see more of Pendleton under better circumstances." After Sam left, Rebecca explored the house properly. It was sturdy and functional rather than beautiful, but someone Evelyn, she presumed, had tried to make it homey with small touches. Embroidered pillows pressed wildflowers in frames, braided rugs on the wooden floors. The kitchen was well equipped but disorganized. Rebecca spent the morning cleaning and rearranging it to suit her needs, then consulted Evelyn's cookbook for a simple stew she could prepare for the noon meal. By the time the men returned, sweaty and hungry, she had food ready and bread sliced. "This is real good, Miss Coleman," Daniel said as he finished his second bowl. "Thank you," Rebecca replied, pleased with the small victory. "Though I think Evelyn deserves the credit for the recipe." "Evelyn was a fine cook," Sam agreed, "but this stew's got your touch to it." "Bit more pepper, I think," Rebecca smiled, surprised he'd noticed. "Yes, I thought it needed something extra." That afternoon, she tackled the garden, which had clearly been neglected since Evelyn's passing. Though the summer heat was intense, Rebecca found satisfaction in pulling weeds and discovering which vegetables were still thriving. Days turned into weeks as Rebecca settled into life at Broken Spur Ranch. Her cooking improved rapidly, and she took pride in keeping the house clean and orderly. The garden began to flourish under her care, providing fresh vegetables for the table. She even learned to bake bread from Rosa, who visited weekly to check on her progress. Sam, she discovered, was a fair and thoughtful employer. He never criticized her mistakes, praised her improvements, and always treated her with respect. Unlike Thomas, who had belittled her and treated her like an accessory, Sam seemed to value her contributions to the ranch. One evening in late August, Rebecca sat on the porch, enjoying the cooler air as sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Sam joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "Thank you," she said, accepting it gratefully. "I was just thinking how different my life is now compared to 2 months ago." "Better or worse?" Sam asked, settling into the chair beside her. Rebecca considered the question. "Different. In Philadelphia, I was always concerned with appearances, wearing the right clothes, saying the right things. Here," she gestured to her simple dress, now slightly faded from washing. "Here I'm judged by what I do, not how I look doing it." "And is that better?" Sam pressed gently. "I think it might be," Rebecca admitted. "I feel useful, needed." "You are needed," Sam said seriously. "The ranch runs smoother with you here. The men eat better, the house feels like a home again." Rebecca blushed at his praise. "I'm glad. I've come to care for this place more than I expected." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell and stars appeared in the vast sky. Rebecca found herself stealing glances at Sam's profile. In the past weeks, she'd grown to appreciate his quiet strength, his fairness, the gentle way he spoke to his horses, and the respect he showed to everyone, regardless of their station. "I've been meaning to ask," Sam said eventually, "if you've given any thought to what you'll do when winter comes." Rebecca's stomach tightened. "Are you asking me to leave?" "No," Sam said quickly, "just the opposite. I'm asking if you'll stay. Winters here can be harsh. We get snowed in sometimes. It's not an easy life." "Are you trying to frighten me away, Mr. Covington?" Rebecca asked with a small smile. Sam turned to face her. "I'm trying to be honest with you. This isn't the life you were raised for." "No, but it may be the life I was meant for," Rebecca replied softly. "I'll stay if you'll have me." Something flickered in Sam's eyes, relief perhaps, or something deeper. "I'm glad to hear it." September brought cattle drives as some of the herd was moved to market. Rebecca found herself cooking for additional hands hired temporarily for the drive. The work was exhausting but satisfying. When Sam returned after a week away, Rebecca realized how much she had missed him. His deep laugh, the way he always noticed when she tried something new with dinner, the warmth in his eyes when he thanked her. One crisp October morning, Sam invited Rebecca to ride with him to check on a distant part of the property. "I've never ridden astride," she admitted nervously as he led a gentle mare from the stable. "No time like the present to learn," Sam replied with a grin. "Can't have you living on a ranch and not knowing how to ride properly." After some initial awkwardness and embarrassment about the impropriety of hiking her skirts to mount the horse, Rebecca found herself enjoying the freedom of riding without the constraints of a side saddle. Sam was patient, showing her how to guide the horse with subtle pressure from her knees and light touches on the reins. They rode to a high meadow where a creek cut through lush grass. The autumn colors painted the landscape in golds and reds, and the air held the crispness of coming winter. "This is my favorite spot on the whole ranch," Sam said as they dismounted. He spread a blanket near the creek and they shared the lunch Rebecca had packed: bread, cheese, and apple pie. "It's beautiful," Rebecca agreed, watching the water sparkle in the sunlight. "So peaceful." "I come here to think sometimes," Sam admitted, "when decisions need making or problems need solving." "And what problem are you solving today?" Rebecca asked, curious about this glimpse into his private thoughts. Sam was quiet for a long moment, then turned to face her. "Rebecca, I've been wondering if your feelings about this place, about the ranch, and the people here might have changed over these months." Rebecca's heart quickened. "They have. I've grown very fond of the ranch and its people." "All its people?" Sam asked, his voice lower. "Or some more than others?" Rebecca met his gaze steadily. "Some more than others." Sam reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand in his. "When you first came here, I told myself I was just helping someone in need, that I needed a housekeeper and you needed work." "And now," Rebecca whispered. "Now I know it was more than that," Sam admitted. "I find myself looking forward to coming home each day because you're there. I find myself thinking about your smile when I'm out with the cattle. I find myself," he hesitated. "I find myself falling in love with you, Rebecca Coleman." Rebecca's breath caught. 3 months ago, she had been abandoned by a husband who had never truly loved her. Now, in this wild and beautiful place, a good man was offering his heart. "Sam," she said softly, "when Thomas left me in Pendleton, I thought my life was over. I never imagined that day would lead me to something far better than what I'd lost." "And what's that?" Sam asked, hope evident in his eyes. "A chance at real love," Rebecca said. "With a man who sees me for who I truly am." Sam's smile was like sunrise breaking over the mountains. Gently, he leaned forward and pressed his lips to hers in a kiss that held both tenderness and promise. When they parted, Rebecca felt tears on her cheeks. "I never thought I could be this happy again," she confessed. "This is just the beginning," Sam promised. Winter came early that year, with November bringing the first heavy snow. The ranch settled into its cold weather routine, caring for the cattle close to home, repairing equipment, and preparing for spring. Rebecca found joy in making the house warm and inviting during the long, dark evenings. The ranch hands taught her to play poker, using beans instead of money, and she surprised them with her quick grasp of the game. Sam courted her properly, despite the fact that she was still legally married to Thomas. He brought her small gifts when he traveled to town: ribbons for her hair, a new book, once even a small bottle of lavender perfume. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, talking about their dreams and plans. "I should tell you," Sam said one night in December, "that I've hired a man in Portland to look for Thomas." Rebecca stiffened. "Why would you do that?" "Because you deserve to be free of him," Sam explained. "You deserve the chance to marry again properly if that's what you want." Rebecca took his hand. "Is that what you want, Sam?" His eyes were serious as he nodded. "More than anything, I want to call you my wife, Rebecca. I want to build a life with you that no one can question or take away." The search for Thomas took months. Winter gave way to spring, and Rebecca threw herself into expanding the garden and learning to ride better. Sam taught her to shoot a rifle just in case, he said, and she proved to have a good eye. Life at Broken Spur continued, with Rebecca and Sam's feelings for each other deepening despite the uncertainty of her marital status. In May of 1879, a letter arrived from Sam's investigator in Portland. Rebecca's hands trembled as Sam read it aloud. Thomas Coleman was killed in a bar fight in Seattle in February, Sam said, his voice gentle. He's confirmed dead, Rebecca. Rebecca sat down heavily, a confusing mix of emotions washing over her. Relief, sadness for the waste of a life, closure. I'm free, she whispered. You are, Sam confirmed, kneeling beside her chair. And I know it's soon to ask, but I've been waiting months to do this properly. From his pocket, he produced a small wooden box carved with wildflowers. Opening it revealed a gold ring set with a small pearl. Rebecca Coleman, will you marry me? Will you be my partner in this life we've started building together? Rebecca looked at the man before her, so different from Thomas, with his city manners and empty promises. Sam was solid, reliable, kind, and strong. He had seen her at her lowest and helped her discover her own strength. He had given her work, a home, and most precious of all, his heart. Yes, Sam Covington, she said, joy bubbling up inside her. Yes, I will marry you. They were married 2 weeks later in Pendleton's small church. Rosa helped Rebecca sew a new dress of pale blue cotton, and the ranch hands cleaned up impressively for the occasion. Daniel served as Sam's best man, and Rosa stood with Rebecca. The entire town seemed to attend, curious about the Philadelphia woman who had been abandoned and then found love with one of the area's most respected ranchers. After the ceremony, they celebrated with a feast at the ranch, tables set up in the yard under flowering apple trees. There was music and dancing, with Rebecca teaching some of the more willing cowboys the formal dances of Philadelphia ballrooms, much to everyone's amusement. As evening fell, Sam led his bride away from the celebration to the main house, which had been decorated with wildflowers for the occasion. Mrs. Covington, he said, lifting her hand to kiss it. Welcome home. Rebecca smiled up at her husband. I've been home since the day you brought me here, Sam. I just didn't know it yet. 1 year later, Rebecca stood on the porch of Broken Spur Ranch, watching as Sam rode in from checking the new calves. Her hand rested on her swollen belly, their first child due in less than a month. The ranch had prospered under their combined care. Rebecca's garden now supplied vegetables not only for their table, but for sale in Pendleton as well. She had started a small orchard that would bear fruit in years to come, and her chicken coop provided eggs that commanded premium prices for their size and quality. Sam dismounted and strode toward her, his face lighting up as it always did when he saw her. 1 year of marriage had only deepened their love and respect for each other. How are my two favorite people today? He asked, placing his hand over hers on her belly. We're well, Rebecca replied with a smile. Your son has been kicking all afternoon. Still convinced it's a boy, Sam teased, leading her to the porch swing he had built for her last summer. Mother's intuition, Rebecca insisted, settling onto the swing. Though I'll love this child no matter what. Sam sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders. Did I tell you Daniel spotted wild horses in the north pasture, thought we might try to bring them in after the baby comes? Another project, Rebecca laughed. As if we don't have enough with a new baby and the cattle drive coming up. Life's about growing, isn't it? Sam said, his hand gently caressing her shoulder. The ranch, our family, our dreams. Rebecca leaned into his embrace, grateful for the strange twist of fate that had brought her to this place and this man. Thomas's abandonment, which had seemed like the end of her world, had actually been the beginning of a far better one. I love you, Sam Covington, she said simply. And I love you, Rebecca Covington, he replied, kissing her forehead, from now until forever. As the sun set over Broken Spur Ranch, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Rebecca knew with absolute certainty that she had found where she belonged in this wild, beautiful country with this good, strong man, building a life filled with purpose and love. What had once been a strange town was now home, and what had begun as simple work and shelter had blossomed into the greatest adventure of her life. Their son, James Daniel Covington, was born on a stormy night in July 1880, with Rosa serving as midwife. He had his father's blue eyes and his mother's determination, crying lustily as he entered the world. As Sam held his son for the first time, tears streaming unashamedly down his face, Rebecca knew that their family, like the ranch itself, would continue to grow and thrive in this land of second chances.